I'm so excited for today's video, and I feel like I always say that, but it just means that I love what I do. But I am especially excited for today's video because I am tier ranking your book boyfriends. I think a few weeks ago I posted a short asking you to comment your favorite book boyfriends, and you all showed up. Like, I was floored by all of the responses. I didn't expect it, and I got jotting down. I was jotting down those names, and there was a lot. There is over 100, so we should just get into it because it's gonna be good. So if you are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Kat, and today I am tier ranking your book boyfriends. Now, these boyfriends are all from very popular book talk series. Some of them are romance series or romance books. A lot of them are YA books and YA fantasy, and some of them are middle grade books. But before we get into ranking the book characters, we need to go over the tiers. So I have my trusty laptop, and the tiers are as follows. And it's very simple. There's only 5 tiers, but the first one and my favorite is Let's Get Married, because I mean, that's what we're going to do. So it just makes sense to do that. Then we have Major Crush, aka I would date him. And I feel like that's where I'm going to put most of these men. I don't know. We'll find out very soon. Then it's followed by Let's Be Friends. Sometimes it just works better as friends, and that's not a bad thing. They're still in their lives. Then it's followed by Who. And this is a category for all the bookmen that I don't know. I tried to write down everyone's suggestions. I really hope I didn't miss any, but there are some books that I haven't read. So this section is where I would put those men, where I'm going to put those men. And then last but not least, it's going to be followed by It's a No for Me. And before we get too into it, I just want to say that I will not be including any books that fall under St. Martin's Press because there is currently a boycott going on. They're very popular books published under their many imprints, and I just won't be including them in this video. But I saw the comments and I hear you, but I stand with the boycott. We are starting off very strong with Adam from The Love Hypothesis, and I'm just going to say we're going to get married. That was Fake Dating Gold. I think this was the book that convinced me that fake dating was for me. I love him. He's grumpy. She's sunshine. She's clueless. He's secretly pining. It's a whole thing. I love this book. So we're gonna get married, and he can talk about science and I'll listen. It would be a perfect union. Second, right out the gate, is Peeta from The Hunger Games, and this boy could do literally no wrong. No wrong. He is so good. What is that quote from The Hunger Games? I feel like it's Hamish that says you can live 1,000 lifetimes and never deserve that boy. It's true, because he is pure of heart, and we would have a lovely, lovely marriage. Okay, then we have Kenji from the Shadow Me series, and he is one of my favorite book characters ever. I do not know if we would make like the best match, but I would like to see. So we are gonna date. I'm excited. Then we have Gus. Augustus from Beach Read. This is an Emily Henry book. I think this was the first one I ever read. I remember really liking him, so I date him. He's a writer. I'm creative. We could have creative sessions doing things. It could be fun. Then we have Reese from ACOTAR, and immediately I want to be like, let's get married, because A Court of Mist and Fury is amazing. It's so good. It's like one of my favorite books. I think that he's a little secretive. He kind of does his own thing sometimes. I don't love that. So I'm gonna say let's date. Woo me. Show me that I'm in the loop, you know? And then once I am, we get married. This next one just takes me right back. I remember reading the series like 10 years ago. It's Maxon from the Selection series. I would totally date him. He's king. I could be his queen. It could be fun. Let's see where it goes. Then we have Nolan from Check and Mate, and this is from Allie Hazelwood's like YA debut. So if there's any books that you want to read by Allie Hazelwood, but you don't necessarily fall into the adult romance category age-wise, check this one out because he's great. And he's basically just like all of her other men. They're smart, and they move secretly. They see you very clearly too. So I enjoyed him. I enjoyed him a lot. Then we have Fitz from Keeper of the Lost Cities. From like book 1, I was like, I don't know about this guy. Like, I feel like he's being pushed towards me as like the love interest, but I think that we would just make better friends. Hopefully we're not, you know, linked, but friends. Then we have Jaren from The Prison Healer. This is a great YA fantasy series. I think the first book in the series is good, but book 2 and book 3 and Jaren, I love that man. So yes, let's get married. In keeping just the theme of The Prison Healer going, we've got Calden. We meet him in book 2. I would date him. I don't know if we would make like the best pairing, because I feel like he is like of the people, off doing things, but he's so lovely and trustworthy too. So I don't really know if he would just like hang out with me and we could just like have some solitude, you know, together. then we could really bond. It could go places, but let's start off dating and go from there. Then we've got a double whammy. We've got Harry and we've got Draco. And I'm just going to be honest and say that I would be Harry's friend. I'll be the Hermione to your Harry. And that could be really good. When it comes to Draco, in the books, I never bat an eye. It was just like, he's a guy that exists and he's mean sometimes. And I'm not really into that. Fanfiction Draco, though, is my sweet spot. Fanfiction Draco is so good. There are so many different versions of him. I've really only read like the lighter stuff, to be honest. So it kind of does change him a little, but I would date him. Then we've got Howells. I have only seen the movie. So this is just me going off of the movie. I own the books. So I have a crush on him. I think he's kind of cool. There's some things that happen and I can only imagine that the books are even better. Oh boy. Okay. Then we have Cassian from ACOTAR. This is also extremely easy for me. I would marry him. If you are interested in his story is Silver Flames, but you have to read the whole series. I will link a video at the end. If you're like, where do I start with Sarah J. Maas? I'll share my personal thoughts on it, but I think that he is an awesome character. He's so funny. He would make me laugh. I like to laugh. So we would get on like a house on fire. I don't know why I said that, but I did, and it's out there. So yes. Then we have Charlie from Book Lovers. I love Book Lovers so much. I would date him. We could read together. That would be so much fun. Then we have Conrad from The Summer I Turned Pretty, and I posted a reading vlog of the third book, and I had many thoughts. I think let's be friends. I think it just makes sense. Let's just be friends. Then we have Ivan from Look Up With Love. This is a slow burn romance. All of Mariana Zapata's books are. You have to know that going in, but this is Tessa and Scott coded, okay? This is, if you have not watched Tessa and Scott Moulin Rouge number at the Olympics, they're at some Olympics, it's so good. It is everything that I pictured these characters to do, so I would date him. Ooh, okay. I'm gonna be a little unpopular. We have Jameson from the Inheritance games, and I see the appeal. I see it. I appreciate it. He is an entertaining character, and he does exude an energy that I do really like, and I do think is attractive. However, I feel like he's got to do some work on himself. I just don't think we would have the healthiest of relationships. So I'm gonna say let's be friends, because hanging out with you would be fun. Dating you might break my heart. Then we have Dominic from By a Thread. This is an adult romance by Lucy Score. It's available on KU. It's also published and get it from bookstores. I think that he is wild and it would be fun. It would be crazy, but it would be fun. Then we're changing lanes. We're talking about Caraval, specifically Julian from Caraval, and I would totally date him. I remember reading the first Caraval book and just being like, who do I trust? Who is who? What is what? I don't know. And I did like him immediately. So yes. Then we have Noah from When in Rome, which is the first book in the When in Rome series by Sarah Adams. Pretty self-explanatory. He is so sweet. He makes pies, people. He's just he's a good egg. We would have a very healthy coexistence together. I would marry him. Then we have Lorcan from Throne of Glass. I feel like this man is not talked enough about. Did I say that weird? He's not talked about enough. There you go. We need to talk about him more because he is just the greatest grumpy character. We're gonna get married. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be so good. Oh, I love this. Then we have Kaz from Six of Crows. And I feel like this is when I really realized like the appeal of a morally gray character. That's not my jam in my real life whatsoever. But in books, I see it and I get it. And I think that it's gonna be a no. It's going to be a no. I know it's going to be a no for me though. I just don't think like, what do we have in common? He is an angry man and, I don't know. I feel like his vibes would bring my vibes down, but he does say some of the most romantic things. There are a few lines that are very good. I'm scared, but I have to put it in. It's a no for me. Then we have James from Chain of Gold. This is a character from the sequel series to my favorite series of all time, The Infernal Devices. I love him. I think that he is so sweet. He acted in a very human way, even though it's a supernatural setting. I would date him. Then we just have to take a minute and talk about Matthias from Six of Crows. I've never been more attracted to a man. I think that we would just get married. Like, let's get married. Oh, yes. Then we have Elijah from My Fine Fellow. One single person commented this, and that was all I needed because this is a character from one of my favorite books. It's a YA historical romance that is based off of Pygmalion. It's not for everyone, but it's for me, and I would marry him in a heartbeat. This next character was commented so much that I was like, I immediately need to read the series to see what these people are talking about. Unfortunately, I haven't read the series, so I have to put Leo from Heroes of Olympus in Who because I just haven't read it yet. But I'm going to because you guys were like, all about him. It's safe to say that you sold me. Then we have 4 from Divergent, and I read the first book and then I saw the movies. So I feel like I have enough information to say that I would date him. Yeah, that could be really fun. Okay, then we have Matthew from Chain of Gold. Again, same series as the character James I just talked about like a few characters ago. I would also date him. Very easy. I would date him. Okay, so then we have Fred from Harry Potter, and I always mix these characters up. So let me just see which one is which. Well, the more you know, there is a Fred Weasley that is an American trombonist. He's out there living his best musical life. He looks very talented. I don't even know why I needed to look because I would date him. I would date both of the brothers, so it doesn't really matter. I didn't need that clarification, but I would date him. Then we have Nate Hawkins from Icebreaker, and I got a bunch of comments with him, but I haven't read that book yet, so I have to put him in Who. Then we've got Jem from the Infernal Devices. Such an easy answer. I would marry him yesterday. He is on a Peeta Mellark level, okay? He is so good to his core. And I just feel like true love can bloom wherever this man is. Like, he's so good. So yes. And now we're just keeping these good vibes going. Ollie from Everything Everything. I love the book, love the movie even more. This is a movie where that like stands out for me. It's a comfort movie. I watch it all the time. And if you haven't seen it, you have to watch the version that has the text messages on the screen. Some versions don't have it. It's on Prime right now and it doesn't have the text. You have to get the version with the text on screen because that's like half the thing right there. Anyways, comfort movie, comfort character, comfort boyfriend, immaculate. This was one of the most popular answers, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I never looked at him this way before. So just take my reaction with a grain of salt because like I see the appeal, and I feel like the show is also probably like elevating that as well because people seem to be really happy with the show. But Percy Jackson. So I'm just gonna say if I was Annabeth, I would date him. I don't think that I would say like let's get married because I just never looked at him like that before. So he's the son of Poseidon. I like water. We have some stuff in common. We're both close with our moms, so there you go. Then we have Grimshaw from Lightlark, and I have not read Lightlark yet. I've seen a lot of very positive reviews lately, especially with the second book in that series out, so it's on hold at the library, and I'm excited to see how I feel about this man named Grimshaw. Now, this is a super unpopular opinion, but we have Wynn from Happy Place, and I just feel like that book was heartbreaking. It was designed to hurt you, and I think that because I'm not interested in that in my reading material at this time, I think seeing him and reading this character, I did not find him appealing. I was just sad and I was upset with the lack of communication and the back and forth and the roller coasterness of it all. So I think that I would say he's not for me. I know people really love this book. I can't interact with this man. He's hurt me too much. Then we have the other twin, George. I would also date him. Funny guy, magical, doesn't like the rules. Nothing wrong with that. I was actually kind of surprised by this next one because it was commented a bunch and I didn't know that this man was like, you know, on people's brains. But we've got Newt from the Maze Runner series. And I read the first book when it came out years ago and I saw all the movies again and not someone that was ever on my radar. So I'm just going to say, let's be friends. Then we have Julian Blackthorne from The Dark Artifices. This is a Shadowhunter series. I love him. I would date him. He's great. Ugh. So great. Then we have Nathaniel from Sorcery of Thorns. I liked the first book. I loved the like novella. Is it a novella? I really liked that one. So based off of the novella, I would date him. I would date him. Then we have Jesper from Six of Crows, and I would date him. The actor who played him did such a good job, especially making it his own. And even though that it was slightly different than how I interpreted it in the book, I like both versions. So yeah, I'd date him. Why the heck not? Oof. Then we have Wes from Better Than the Movies. Yes, absolutely. I would date him 110%. He is a prime example of how the friends to more trope works. He is great. He is so good. Then we have the Darkling, and I'm gonna just say I would date him. I would date him. Especially like Ben Barnes playing him. I've loved him since Narnia. I remember watching the Narnia movies when I was little and being like, I will marry that man one day. It's not off the table yet. Then we have Hunt from Crescent City. I would absolutely marry this man. I would marry him in 60 seconds. He would ask and I'd be like, are we doing this right now? Because we just should. And he would say yes. Then we have Nikolai from the Shadow and Bone universe. He's introduced in that world, then he gets his own spinoff. I would say, let's date. I would date him. He had something that was interesting. I could see it. You know what I can see? Finnick Odair and me walking together into the sunset. Sam Claflin playing him was the greatest gift in casting. It was perfect. Then we have Simon Lewis from The Mortal Instruments. This is where the whole Shadowhunter world started. He is Seth Cohen coded, and that is my jam. So I would date you. I love Simon. He is constantly in the friend zone. I don't get it. He deserves more than that. Then we have Kai from Powerless, and I haven't read it yet. That is my book club's pick of the month for February, so soon. But until then, I'm just going to say who. I think you would say Ewan, the main character from The 7-Year Slip. I love that book so incredibly much. I would date him. Then we have Jack from Love Theoretically. This is an adult romance book. I would marry him. Would I? Yeah, I think I would. As long as we date a long time before that, but I would marry him. Then we have Kellen from Blade of Secrets. I was really surprised to see this as an option because I feel like I'm one of the few people that have read that book. I haven't finished the duology yet. I plan to this year. I really liked him. I really liked this. It's just very easy to get into. It's very, very perfect if you like YA fantasy. Yeah, I would date him. I would so date this guy. He was really great. Then we have Orion from Foul Lady Fortune. I have not read this book yet, but I hear really good things, so I have to put him in the who category. Then we have Charlie from Heartstopper, and I just love everything about this guy. He's so great. Just such good energy, and I just want to give him a hug. Then we have Wolf from Bring Me Your Midnight. I put this one in because I just finished this book and I really enjoyed this guy as a character. He feels everything very intensely, and I just feel like I would be his world and he would be mine. And for that, I would marry him. I would marry this guy. Next up, we have Orion from the Zodiac Academy. I don't even know how many of these books I read. I don't even think they're for me. I didn't really enjoy any of the bullying aspect at all. I did really like him. He's my favorite part, so I would totally date this guy. I don't know how it would go, but we'd have fun together, that's for sure. Then we have Knox from Things We Never Got Over. This is also very unpopular, but that book just wasn't for me, and I think because of that, I lumped him as a character into that. I read it a couple of years ago now. I don't even remember much but the ending, so I'm just gonna say it's a no for me. Then we have Charlie from Betting on You. I love this book. I think it's my favorite Lynn Painter book. I would date him. It's like strangers to reluctant friends to more. Loved it. Then we have Jax from Once Upon a Broken Heart, and this is such a popular opinion, but I think that he could have done more. You have a female main character who is all in, and he clearly feels a lot too, but I feel like his actions didn't align with his feelings. So I think that that's a no for me. I know so many people love him, but it's just like, I can't date him. He burned me. Then we have Xander from The Inheritance Games. I would date him. What would we talk about? I don't know. I think that he would rather solve a Rubik's Cube than date me, but I mean, we could go on a date, we could see. Then we have Sel from Legendborn, and I would so date him as well. He's very intense. Don't know how good of a communicator he is, but let's give it a whirl. Then we have Jacob from Yours Truly, and it makes me so happy to see that people are really liking this book. It's a really popular book. For me, there was a lack of communication that is such like a major part of a relationship, and I just wish that there was more. But this man is such a cinnamon roll. He is so sweet, so good that you can't help but fall in love with this guy, so I would date him. And hopefully we could talk things out and get married. Then we have Nick from Heartstopper. Again, we'd get married. We have Johnny from Binding 13. I own this book, but I have not read it. So unfortunately, I have to put him in the who column. Let me know in the comments if I should read this book soon. Should I bump it up? I almost picked it up the other day too, and I was like, I don't know if I'm in the mood to like get my heart broken. Then we have Jacob from Twilight, and I feel like we would make good friends. I remember going to see those movies in theaters, and New Moon specifically, and also Eclipse, when he was naked for the first time on screen, people in the theater, which was jam-packed, were just losing, like catcalling him, like losing their marbles over this guy. It was like in the audience of like a Magic Mike show, and it just felt weird. So like, let's be friends. He's a little angry, not my cup of tea, but I see some like alpha energy there, literally. So I get it. Then we have people we meet on vacation. I say, let's start as friends and let's see what can move on from there. I like this book. I didn't love this book, so I feel like that comes into play, but nice guy. Should have talked more though. Talk to me about things. Talk to me, your friend. Anyways, then we have Nate from One of Us is Lying. I have not read this book. It was commented a lot, but I have not read it yet, so I have to put it in the who category. Then we have Grayson from the Inheritance Games. I think that I would date him. I don't want to be like, I'm Team Grayson, but I think if I had to choose between him and Jameson, I would pick Grayson. If I had to be Team anyone, it would be Nash, I think, because I'll save that for later. But Grayson, I would date him, and hopefully we could have a good time. Then we have Reese from the Twisted Games book, and this was the only book in the series that I've read. He is a man. And that book was spicy. Someone pitched it to me as Princess Diaries, but make it adult. And yeah, I see that. I think that we should be friends. We should be friends. He can protect me, and I would appreciate that. Then we have Jeremiah. We have Jeremiah from The Summer I Turned Pretty, and I'm going to put him in the same category as Conrad. I'm just going to leave it at that. Then we have Will Herondale from The Infernal Devices. He was the first character that I truly was like, if love like that exists, I want it with a man like him. He is so great, layered, funny, sarcastic, so romantic. A reader. The series was the first fantasy romance series I read, loved it, highly recommend, always recommend. Yes, Will, I do. Then we have Counting Down with You, Ace from that book. That book is phenomenal. It's a diverse read. Everything that is brought up is extremely relatable. Conversations that need to happen, but talking specifically about this guy, he is quite young to be showing up the way that he did for the female main character, and I just think that this says a lot about his character, and I really enjoyed him. Then we have Weston from 100 Days of Sunlight. I have not read this book yet, so I have to put it in the who category. I've seen it floating around. I think I see it more on Bookstagram than I do Book Talk, but it's on my TBR. Then we have Elias from An Ember in the Ashes. I love this book series so much, and he is my boyfriend. He's good. Then we have Will from Practice Makes Perfect. This is the sequel, the companion sequel to When in Rome. Don't read this without reading When in Rome. He's a bodyguard and he's funny, and we would date, and it would be so fun. Then we have Aaron Warner from the Shatter Me series. And let me just say this. I think that the shining part of the Shatter Me series are the romances. They are the interactions between the characters. I love rereading parts of Ignite Me, which is the third book in that series. There are things that happen between him and the female main character that I love. I would date him. He needs to go to therapy first. After that, let's see what happens. Then we've got Kai from Caught Up. This is the third book in the Windy City series, adult sports romance series. I would marry this man. I would marry him. Not the way I would marry Xander's, but I would marry him. Marry. Actually, speaking of men, I would marry Rhodes from All Roads Lead Here. He is my ideal man. He is so... Oh my gosh. So this is a slow burn standalone romance by Mariana Zapata. The only flaw with this man is that he uses a term of endearment that is not hot, but that's something you could rectify with a conversation and you would never hear it again. So everything else, his love language is acts of service. I don't know. I think actions speak louder than words, and his actions say a lot. So I would also marry, this is great, I would also marry Aaron Blackford from The Spanish Love Deception. A lot of people have feelings on that book series. I totally understand it. Some people love it. Some people are like, this is not for me. That man, so you know when people are like, when did you know that your person was your person? For me, with him, it's when he gave his homemade granola to the female main character. And I loved that. I was like, you can give me your granola. So yes, he is the shining part of that book for me, and I would marry him. Then we have Cal from Dreamland Billionaires. See, I think I'm in an era of my life where the second chance romance trope is a little hard. I think that I would say that let's start as friends. And if you can show me that everything that you've gone through, all that growth can stick, then we can move on to dating, you know, because I was so proud of him reading his story and the growth that he experienced and went through. And I'm so glad, you know, how it ends up. But for me, at this period in my life, let's start as friends. And then let's see if we can change things from there. Then we've got Magnus from basically like the Shadowhunter world. I love him. I would so date him. I would so date him. Then we've got Daniel from Part of Your World. This was the first book I ever read by Abby Jimenez. I felt the most reading that book and I fell for him and I would marry him. Oh, it's like small town, but he shows up. It's just so good. Then we have Darius from Zodiac Academy. It's going to be a no for me because he is a terrible communicator. He's angry and he's vengeful. And I see the appeal, but I don't think it speaks to me at all. So it's a no for me. Then we have Brishan. Is that how you would say it? From Radiance. I haven't read this book. I plan on it, but until I do, I have to put it in this category. Then we've got Dimitri from the Vampire Academy series, and I haven't read that series at all. I have seen the movie, which people may be like, Kat, come on. Like, what are you doing? I don't know. So I'm going to say let's be friends because that feels like the right thing to do. I also haven't read It Ends With Us. So Atlas was suggested a few times, but I don't know who he is, so I can't say if I like him or not. So it's who for now. Then we have Mal from Shadow and Bone. I'm just going to say it's a no for me. Wow. This is okay. It's like a theme. Then we have Declan from the Dreamland Billionaire series. His book is book 2. I also feel like he did not give enough. He is a billionaire. Yeah. And people are like, he's high, he's a billionaire. Cool. But he did not show up for Iris the way that she would show up for him. And he was a little too moody. Hot. And I love Lauren Asher's books. I love her books. But I think if I was to marry this man, if he was on the table, like, do you want to? I would say, let's be friends. Then we have Marcus from Dark Shores. I haven't read this book yet. I think it's by the same author that wrote The Bridge Kingdom. So I'm just going to put this in the who category for now, but I've seen this a lot on Book Talk, so I do plan on reading it. Then we have Levi from Love on the Brain, and I would date him. I would date him. He works at NASA, right? I like space, so sparks could fly. Then we have Keith from Keeper of Lost Cities. Everyone's talking about like chapter 42 or something. I haven't read it yet. I don't know what happens in that chapter, but if I was Sophie, I would marry him. Then we have Edward from Twilight. I would say, let's be friends. I never felt that thing, so let's be friends. Then we have Chase. No, that's not his name. Then we have Jace from the Mortal Instruments. He was an OG for me. I remember reading these books as they came out, and I was like, yeah. So, yeah, I'd date him. Actually, let's be friends. Let's be friends. There are other characters I love more, but I used to love this guy. Then we have Castile. That's the character from Blood and Ash. I have only read the first book, and I remember feeling like that series like wasn't singing to me. So I don't know if I know enough to like make a decision off of. So I'm gonna say let's be friends because I did read about him and he was attractive, but I was also kind of like, what? If you know, you know. Then we have Mr. Darcy. We're getting married. This is like original Grumpy Sunshine book trope. I want to watch this movie tonight. I think I'm going to. It's been like calling to me recently, so I think the time is now. Then we have Nash from the Inheritance games. He is my favorite, and I think that we would have a lovely marriage. Delightful. He is the kind of guy who would take you to your favorite ice cream place just to see you smile. That's the kind of guy you marry. Also Xander's from the Windy City series. I do not enjoy reading about like the cocky, like player type characters. That's not my jam. He is my jam though. Whole series is fantastic and I love him. Speaking of love, we have Azriel from ACOTAR. I don't know who his mate is, but I could be his mate and we would just cuddle. We would cuddle and it would be awesome. Then we have Luca from Lovelight Farms. Excellent example of friends to more. I would date him. Then we have Kai from the Lunar Chronicles, and I have not read that series in forever, like so long. I do remember really liking him. I liked him a lot. So part of me is saying let's get married because I remember thinking that it would be marriage material, but because it's been so long, I'm just going to play it safe and say I would date him. Dating can lead to marriage, people. Same with Legend. I feel like I read this book like 2 years ago. I remember him being very protective, and that's hot, so I would date him. Then we have Beckett from Lovelight Farms. I would marry him. I'd also marry Caleb from Lovelight Farms. Their books are books 2 and 3. I think that Beckett is like very grumpy, very shy. You kind of have to like earn your place. When you do, that place is forever. And I love that. Caleb is cinnamon roll, sweet material here. He is great partner. Love him. Then we have Dorian from Throne of Glass. I would date him. I do not feel like I'm his type. I feel like he would not appreciate what I'd bring to the table. So we have to start with a date. Then we have Alex from Twisted Love. I've not read this book, so I have to put it in the Who category. But people seem to really like him. I think he's like a bad guy, but I don't know. Then we have Gale from The Hunger Games. And I'm just gonna say that like there's no judgment here. Everyone's got their preference and that's fine. I think that he is loyal and I think that he is strong-willed and strong-minded. Is that like a good way to describe him? But I feel like we would just butt heads. I feel like I would want him to see the other side of things. I don't know if he'd hear me out. So for that, I would say it's a no for me. I was so surprised when I saw someone had suggested this. I think I saw it maybe twice, but Harper from An Ember in the Ashes, if you know, you know, I would marry him. Then we have Orion from A Cuban Girl's Guide to Teen Tomorrow. If you know me, you know that I love that book so incredibly much. Orion is... There are no words. He's adorable and I would marry him. I would move to London to be with him. Then we have Charlie from Love Light Farms. I put this one in there because I'm reading his book right now. This is the 4th and final book in the Love Light Farms series. I think this comes out in a few months. I would marry him. I think his book is my favorite. So many people commented this next guy. I personally have only read the first book in the series and I remember liking him. I don't know if more happens, but Ravi from A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, I would say I would date him based off of what I read. People love him, so I now have to finish the series. It was already on my radar, but like, shoot, this was commented a lot. Then we have Raven from One Dark Window. I own it, but I haven't read it, so I can't say yet. Then we have Cal from the Red Queen series. I have not read this yet, so you know where it has to go. Then we have Ryan from Daughter of the Pirate King. I would so date him. It's giving Pirates of the Caribbean. I love Pirates of the Caribbean, so yes. This is extremely unpopular, and I know it, and I'm very sorry. Carden from the Cruel Prince series. For me, I just saw a guy who hated the girl. Like, he hates Jude, and he hates that he has feelings for her. And I just, like, don't want that in a marriage, so it's a no for me. I'm so sorry. You know who's not a no for me? Rowan from Throne of Glass. We can get married anytime. I'm telling you, Queen of Shadows is my favorite. It's my favorite. It's my favorite. Then we have Rowan from The Fine Print, and I've told the story a million times. When I started this book, I had the flu. When I finished it, I did not have the flu anymore, and I think it's because of the healing properties in the love story that happened in this book. He is grumpy. He falls for the sunshine, and I just loved everything that happened, so I would marry him. Absolutely, I would. Then we have Rune from Crescent City. I would date him. I don't know if we would vibe, but I will marry Ryan from The Right Move, which is the second book in the Windy City series. He is book boyfriend goals, and I just think that we would have the best marriage. Oh my gosh. That also goes for Sam and I. Sam from TOG, Throne of Glass. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. Also, Tam from Keeper of the Lost Cities was commented a fair amount. And to be honest, I never looked at him that way. So I'm just going to say, let's be friends for now. I see the appeal though. Like he's gone through some stuff. He's a little angry, but he like wants to do the right thing. I get it. Then we have Thomas Cresswell, and he is from the Jack the Ripper series. I feel like he loves science, and science is something that I struggled with when I was in school. So I don't know what we would have in common. So we're going to be friends. It was science he was studying, wasn't it? Like, wasn't he in school and then they were solving a murder, like a murder mystery? Something like that. Cool guy, nice guy. Then we have Kale from Throne of Glass. And let me just tell you, I went on a journey with this man. That his story, there is a lot that happens with him. And I think that I appreciate that he is part of that golden trio, but I think that ultimately it's a no for me. I'm not healed from that journey yet. Then we have Archer from Archer's Voice. The only acceptable option here is to marry that man. You need to marry that man. Oh my gosh. Then we have Wolf from the Lunar Chronicles. His book is the second book, I think. I remember really liking him, so I would date him. Why not? And then last but not least, we have Zayden from Fourth Wing. And I've only read the first book. I don't know if I'll read the second because I feel like I am not feeling what everyone else is. I think that book excels at like tension, like romantic tension. And I bet you the second book offers even more than the first book in regards to the sky. Based off of what I've read, I just feel like he'd break my heart. I feel like think he'd break me, but I'd give it a whirl. So I'd date him. So that is the list. Those are all of the book boyfriends. I had so much fun doing this. I did like, I think 120 just now. So I feel proud. I feel like we did it. So as always, please feel free to let me know your thoughts and your feelings. If you would rank some of these book boyfriends differently, if you agree with my choices, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, book lovers.